So tell us, man, what the fuck is going on right now in the world of November's Doom?
Man, it is a whirlwind. We are just heavily preparing for November 1st. We can't wait for everyone to hear this entire album. It's our 11th. We truly feel that it's the best thing we've ever done. We want everybody to hear it and judge it for themselves. And yeah, man, we're working really hard. We're trying to push it, trying to get the word out there, trying to get as many people to hear the singles as possible. And we're preparing this material to play live for the first time. So yeah, we're staying really busy, filming more videos, all kinds of stuff coming up. So yeah, we are. The November's Doom camp is extremely busy these days, and that's a really good thing.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we played a couple of your tracks earlier, man. The two singles that you've released so far, and everybody was digging it, man. So far, man.
Very cool. That's good news. Good to hear. I keep telling everybody. There's a lot of people like the tricky part is when you release singles when you're a band like us. It's really hard because it's really hard to put us in any kind of one genre. We're a death metal band, but we're also kind of gothic metal, and at times where we do soft ballad stuff, it's really hard to put us in one kind of category. So when it comes time to pick the singles that go out, you're bound to disappoint somebody along the way. You put out a single and you'll get people who like the heavier stuff go, oh, there's not enough growling and there's not enough this, and it goes both ways. All I can tell you is, everyone that listens to the singles, don't judge the album based on the singles alone. Wait till it comes out, because I promise you, whatever you like about the band, it's there, and plenty of it. And you'll find new things to like as well. It's a very well-rounded record with a little bit of everything for everybody that likes us. So yeah, just don't judge it based on singles. We can't let you hear everything. But if I have to say, we picked, I guess, the safer songs to come out as singles. We didn't want to give away anything new. We didn't want to give away too much surprise. Just there are every song on this record is a heavy hitter. Just wait till you get the whole thing in your hand. I think fans are going to appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Well, I don't know why anybody would be complaining about those two tracks, man, because those two tracks are fucking badass, dude.
I appreciate it. I shouldn't say complain. Yeah, like I said, occasionally you'll get the guy, oh, it sounds great and everything, but I want more growls. Well, wait for the album. The growls are there. I have not abandoned them. They are definitely all there. I think what they got with Petrichor, I used a little bit different of a vocal style on some of the verses, and it's not quite my growl, but it's not quite my clean kind of singing, but the full-on death metal growl, there are several songs on this record that'll just fucking slay. So yeah, don't worry, man, they're there.
I think it's fucking cool, man. Fucking, I liked having different fucking sounds, different dynamics, and different fucking vocal types, shit going on, man. I mean, like, what the fuck, man. Sometimes it gets boring if you just
fresh.
Yeah, it gets boring if you just have one fucking sound going throughout everything, man. In my opinion.
Man, there's some bands that do that brilliantly, though. I mean, look at a band like, and trust me, this is not a knock to them in any way, but you get bands like Unleashed or Amon Amarth. I don't want to hear them change. They are brilliant at what they do. They're masters at that writing. They have perfected that. Yeah, keep giving that to me, because that's brilliant stuff. I don't feel that we're the kind of band that can do that. I think if we kept putting out that same sort of vibe, I think we wouldn't be able to keep writing the hook and keep people interested. For us as musicians and just bringing in influence from other genres, we have to keep it fresh, and we have to keep trying to include new things to challenge ourselves. And it's just something we've always set out to do from the very beginning. And I think we've accomplished that all throughout our career, especially on this new record.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. It definitely works for some bands, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having your sound. But as far as like when I listened to those two tracks myself, I didn't really notice that it was like that much of a. I don't know. It sounded natural in my opinion.
That's good. I mean, because it is. It's truly organic to where we are at the time we write it. Nothing is forced. That's one thing we've never done. We definitely try to challenge ourselves, but we do that by trying to pull in influence that we have personally. Like Larry has different influences than Vito, and I have different influences than Mike, and Gary is completely different. And we try to incorporate our own personal influences so it works within November's Doom. And I think that's why the band works as well as it does. We all understand how those things need to play into our sound. And it's the same lineup now for 3 records in a row. We all trust each other. We work off each other well. We don't have to babysit anybody. Everyone knows their job. Everyone knows how to write, what to bring in, where it needs to go. We trust each other, and the outcome shows that. And that's why I think it's so organic and so natural sounding from beginning to end. It's just everyone put in a lot of personal work on this, and it shows more than I think any other record we've done.
Hell yeah, man. Well, speaking of influences, tell us about your influences.
It's funny because when we start getting close to the writing mode, I kind of unplug from everything metal. I don't want to be influenced by current metal records or even older metal records. I don't want to create something and people go, oh, well, that sounds just like the new Catatonia or anything like that. So I try to avoid that. And I listen to things that I would want to incorporate. So I listen to like some singer-songwriter stuff. Greg Laswell's a big influence. I listen to a lot of Muse. I listen to Brendan Perry, his solo record. I get a lot from that. Stuff like Peter Gabriel. I listen to a lot of bands that incorporate, if anything, current metal. The new Dream Theater had quite an impact on me vocally. I loved like a lot of the melodies and harmonies and things that he does on the new record. I think that I kind of drew some inspiration from. For me personally, that's it. I drew a lot from harmonies, melodies, and vocalists who do a lot of layering of vocals, and I wanted to incorporate and try new things as much as that as possible. And you don't get a lot of that through extreme metal. Most bands don't kind of do that, so I had to find my influence in other genres for that.
Very cool, man. Got some questions from the chat room. Thunderous wants to know, where'd the band name come from?
Funny story. The old English television show Benny Hill, of all things, he used to have a poem that he would say. And if I recall the poem, my old guitar player, the original guitarist for the band, Steve, came up with the name November's Doom. And basically, because of the poem in the Benny Hill show, he says something along the lines of, and I'm probably going to get the quote wrong, but it's like, no birds, no bees, no flowers, no trees, no wonder, November. And it struck a chord with him, and he said, November, it's the month that everything dies off before the winter. And it just kind of stuck with us. It's like, yeah, November's Doom. And it was like that month where everything dies before the snow falls. And it was just, at the time, way back in, the late 80s, it was kind of a unique name. There was no one, and it fit really well. And it was just, it was perfect at the time. I think if I had to go back and redo it, I probably wouldn't put the word Doom in our band name, because I think it's pigeonholed us and kind of maybe kept us in a genre our entire career that maybe we don't feel we always belong in. But yeah, that's pretty much the origin of the band name.
Right on, man. Another question from the chat. Vicky wants to know, have you ever played in Canada?
Vicky, yes, we have. We have played Toronto several times. We've been in Calgary. Yeah, we haven't been in Montreal yet. We're hoping to remedy that soon. But yes, we absolutely love Canada, and hopefully we will be back up there for this album. I'm not sure where. Toronto was always a safe bet because it's easier for us to get to being from Chicago. But you never know. We'll see what happens.
She also wants to know, do you like bubble baths or showers better?
I'm a shower kind of guy. Yeah, I prefer a shower. Yeah. I mean, hey, bubble bath is nice, man. Having a nice drink, soak in the tub, that's always nice. Good for the back. But no, if I have my choice, I'm taking a shower. Just, in and out. Don't have time for a bath, so too busy.
Thunderous wants me to ask you, who is Larry and Vito and Mike?
Who are they? Larry is the lead guitar. Vito is the other guitar player. Mike is the bass player. Gary is the drummer.
Right on, man. Well, for all the gearheads out there, what kind of fucking equipment do you guys use when you're recording or playing live?
That would be a better question for those guys, but I can tell you I know they're both fond of, I think Vito's PV, oh God, I'm going to get the numbers wrong. It's not the 5150, it might be the 6505 or something I know they use. They use a little orange power amp for solos. I know that Vito and Larry both use a new power head from Seymour Duncan. They use that on tour all the time, but they may have used it for a couple. They use a lot of different equipment in the studio. I know different parts called for like different guitar tones and stuff, and I'm just I'm the idiot vocalist, man. I don't know. Wait, whatever they use and it sounds good is what they go with. But I know they've used Mesa Boogies. I know they've used the PV. They've used Marshalls in the past. So it's pretty much it's all like amps, though. There's nothing I believe that is going through a filter, through a program or anything like that. It is all like mic'd cabinets and amps and stuff like that. So it's all that natural guitar tone.
Very cool, man. Another question from the chat. Who would you want to tour with if you could play with anybody?
Man, that's a good question. There are so many bands. I mean, see, that's tough because I have friends in bands that I would love to go out on the road with just to hang out with my buddies. And then there are bands that I would want to go out with just because I'm a fan of, and I would love to see that band every night. And then there's bands that I would want to go out with because it makes sense. And I would want to play in front of an audience that maybe we haven't reached yet, but I know that fan base would. Like, I can sum up all three of those in one scenario. My Dying Bride. There is a band that I have been, like, Andy, the guitar player, is one of my closest friends in life. He has been for many, many, many years. We're very good friends. And I haven't had the opportunity. We've played with them a few times, but never toured. I would love to tour with that band just because I think we would have a blast every single day. I'd get to see them all the time. For that reason, they would be, and I would be able to play in front of a crowd that would appreciate our music, that may not have heard us. So that would probably be the perfect scenario band for me. Of course, I'd be foolish not to say a band like Metallica or something, because then you're going to play in front of thousands of people every night. But, realistically, yeah, man, any one of those bands in our genre would just, it'd be great. Only because, our goal, because we can't tour as much as we'd like to because of our age and health and families and November's Doom is a glorified hobby. It's not completely we don't do it for a living, so we have to be choosy on where we play, how much we can play, where we go, how long we can tour. It's all relative to our life. So yeah, man, it's just, if the tour makes sense and we can get in front of as many people as possible that would appreciate what we're doing, that's what we would want to do.
Hell yeah. Another question from the chat. What's your favorite place that you've played at? Favorite venue, I guess.
Oh, wow. House of Blues in Chicago is a great venue to play just because of how well they treat the band. See, it's different. Okay, for a band, there's a few things you remember when you're on tour. Does the venue have a hot shower? That's really important when you're on the road, because a lot of times you'll go days without a shower. If the venue has laundry facilities and a hot shower, oh God, that's one of the greatest places in the world to play. As far as being on stage and looking out at the crowd and like the sound system on the stage where you can hear yourself clearly, there's been a few venues like that. The 930 Club in Washington was really good like that. House of Blues always, I mean, the better the venues. And then there's places in Europe that are very different than America. And like the Netherlands especially. The Netherlands, the small clubs, the government gives them so much money because they take care of their musicians and their art and their venues. So they have state-of-the-art, like, massive stadium sound systems and boards in their small venues. So your sound on stage is incredible. So yeah, for being on stage, it's important to be able to hear us, hear ourselves, and that stands out a lot in venues to me. As far as playing in front of crowds, Brazil is one of the greatest places. Belgium is one of the greatest places. Czech Republic, 70,000 tons of metal, grass pop in Belgium. Yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on. Czech Republic, Brutal Assault. I mean, we've been lucky enough to play some amazing stages in front of some of the greatest fans in the world. So, yeah, man, we're lucky. We're really lucky.
That's really cool, man. Another question from the chat. Has anything bad ever happened on stage?
Yeah, there's been a few instances. I've been rushed on stage and mildly attacked, and I've had to, I had grabbed him by his collar and his belt and ejected him off the stage, and he fell on his neck. I thought that I was in New Jersey. I mean, we've played 70,000 tons in the middle of the ocean on a storm on the pool deck, and we all got really seasick up on stage, like watching the water of the pool slosh out. And yeah, man, I mean, there's a ton of experiences. We were all getting zapped in Europe somewhere. The 220 electricity, there was a shortage problem, so anytime you touched the microphone or something like that, you got jolted. Yeah, we've definitely had our share of pretty bad stuff on stage, without a doubt. I've been sick on stage where I've had the flu and I'm up there and I've walked over and just kind of like vomited off the side of the stage and then went back out there. So yeah, man, after like 30 years of doing this shit, you definitely have your share of bad moments.
30 years, so you guys have been at this for a while, man.
Man, 1989. Yeah, it's been a long time for sure.
Hell yeah. Another question from the chat. Crash Landing wants to know, what's your favorite female-fronted metal band?
Oh, great question. Of all time, I'd have to go with The Gathering. Annika's one of my favorite female vocalists of all time. If I had to go more rock and roll, you can't go wrong with Heart. But female-fronted metal bands, it's either The Gathering or I'll stick with Annika, and I'll even say Vur. Her new band now is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with it. There's so many good bands, but I mean, she just I don't think there's anybody better than her. That's just my personal opinion. She is just fantastic and extremely talented, and just a great human being. And maybe I'm a little biased. She's a good friend, so I'm sure that sways my opinion as well. But yeah, I'll stick with that.
Well, I know you just made Crash Landing happy when you mentioned Heart, because she is always requesting Heart.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, Wilson's voice is incredible. I mean, you can't go wrong there for sure.
Oh yeah, man, that is a classic fucking band. And well, speaking of what's your take on like the modern metal scene as opposed to like what it used to be?
Man, coming from Chicago and asking about the metal scene is tough, because when we started out back in 1989, we struggled. I mean, there was a decent metal scene in Chicago, but all eyes were on New York and Florida and the European doom scene. So it took a long time. There was no internet. There was nothing like that. So it took us a long time to start to gain some ground and people recognize who we were. And then it took a long time to actually get credit for being one of the first in the genre instead of a copycat American band that came along later, which is so not true. So I grew up in the metal scene. I was around in the 80s when thrash started, and then when death metal and black metal, and I was around for all of that from the very beginning. I've seen it all. So you get to the metal scene now, and I think there's some great bands, but probably because of my age and growing up with the bands I did, I tend to be in that snarky old man category where I'll hear new bands and I'll go, that's not as good as it was back in the 90s. And it's such bullshit to even say, because these bands are great. I mean, I'm blown away at some of these bands. You look at some of these kids who come up, and they have so much more talent than we ever did when we started out. We started out playing slow doom because we were terrible musicians, and it was easier to play slow than it was to speed things up. So it was a whole different mindset back in the day than it is now. These kids have YouTube videos, and they learn how to play, and they're shredding on guitar by 9, 10, 11 years old. By the time they start a band, they are so much better than we ever were. And then they have just incredible capabilities for home recording, so they're putting out demos that sound better than our first, second, third album ever did. It's a different time. So the money might not be there, the record labels and the business side of things, but there's a lot more opportunity for bands now. You have YouTube. You can self-release records. You can do a lot more on your own without having to rely on anybody else. So I think the bands that want it can work for it, and they do, and it shows. And yeah, I don't, everyone, Pro Tools and auto-tuning and this and that, and hey man, whatever you got to do to make the music, it doesn't matter. As long as the end result is there and you're writing, you can have all the technology in the world, but write a good fucking song. That's what it comes down to. If you can write a good song, something that's going to hook people, something that's going to be memorable, then you got a shot. But yeah, man. So the modern scene, more power to everybody that's doing what they do, man. I just I don't gravitate towards the new stuff just because I'm an old guy, man. I'll throw on the classics. I still. I'll throw on the early War Master from Bolt Thrower, and when I hear death metal, and it's just stuff like that. Not knocking anybody or what they're doing now. I always gravitate towards that classic hook that just you have no choice but to bang your head. I'm a mid-paced death metal kind of guy. I'm not into the wall of noise. I can't do that. So.
Hell yeah, man. Another question from the chat. What's the music scene like where you guys live at? You're in Chicago,
it's
right?
It's good, man. Chicago's we've always, even from the late 80s, early 90s, we've had a very strong metal scene and criminally overlooked. We've had such incredible bands that, for my money, were better than a lot of the bands that ever got signed and made it big. And they just got overlooked. You get great bands now. My drummer Gary, he's also in a band called Without Waves. If you haven't heard them, check them out. They're awesome. He's also in a band called Gary's in all the bands. He's in a band called Bear Mace. He's in Wolfhammer. He does a bunch of stuff. So yeah, man, our scene is good. Chicago's got a good, solid scene. We have some old classic bands that are still around, like Macabre, and Usurper just put out a new record, and we've got really good bands that have been around a long time, and we've got some great newcomers on the scene as well. Like there's a doom band called Varaha, and yeah, scene's great. Definitely do a little research and check out some local Chicago bands, and you'll be impressed, man. We have really good talent here in the city.
What's your take on the pay-to-play places?
Fuck them. You know what, man? You should not have to pay to play. You should get paid. You're an artist. You put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and money into your gear and your time, and You should not have to pay anybody to stand on stage and play. You want to give it away for free? That's your prerogative. That's your choice. But you don't have to pay anybody to get on stage. You should tell them to fuck off and go somewhere else. That's not right by any stretch. That's shit. That's absolute shit.
Oh yeah, dude. Let me see here, man. Do you fucking wear band T-shirts when you're on stage?
No, I do not. The band generally does not. If you're on tour for 2 weeks and you haven't had laundry and you don't have a choice because you have nothing else clean, that's a different story. But generally, no, as a rule of thumb, for the band, the only one who kind of gets away with it is Gary behind the drums, because after like the first song, he takes his shirt off anyway. But generally, for the four of us standing up front, no, we don't wear other bands' T-shirts on stage. Usually not. And it's just kind of one of those things where we're there to do a job. We're representing our business. We're there to work. So you kind of have your work attire, and that's kind of the way we look at it. Same thing with band photos. You don't see us in band photos wearing other bands' T-shirts. We're not an advertisement for another band. I mean, that might come off as kind of shitty, and you know, I would love to wear like shirts of my friends and stuff like that, but there's a bit of I don't know, professionalism, and image is important. As dumb as that sounds, I hate to even say that. That's so lame, but it is true in a lot of people's eyes. And if you come off as that band that's just kind of sitting around with their friends at a party, you might not be taken as seriously for some of the opportunities. I mean, you might not get offers to the big European festivals, or you might not get... It's so dumb. The things that matter now that didn't matter back in the day is ridiculous. Facebook likes and YouTube likes, and that stuff matters more than even record sales anymore. It's just... Man, the industry is so backwards, and the dumbest things like matter to people. And you know, yeah, you kind of have to play the game a little bit if you really want to take that next step and get in front of a bigger audience, because realistically, that's what it's all about. It's not about making millions of dollars, and it's not about being rich from your music. It's about being an artist and creating something that you put so much time and love and passion into. You want the world to hear it. So you want to do whatever you can so the most ears can listen to and hopefully appreciate what you've done. So sometimes you have to play the game, and you have to go along with some of the crap that goes along with it just so you can get that opportunity. So if it means not wearing my buddy's band T-shirt when I'm up there to promote them, I apologize, but you got to look out for your own band first.
Another question from the chat. For someone who's never seen you guys live before, what could you tell them to expect at a live show?
We always do our very best to try to sound as close to the record as possible. So you might not experience the greatest stage show on the planet, because we don't always tour with a light guy. We don't have big fancy light shows or background or anything like that. But I will promise you that we will do our very best to play the best we can and replicate what we did in the recording studio live for the audience. First and foremost, it's the quality of the music. And that's what it's all about for us. It's about the music. It's not about the spectacle. We try really hard when we write the music. We're perfectionists in our own minds, and we want to portray that as much as we possibly can when we get on stage. It's not always possible due to technical things, but we try, and we do the very best we can, and hopefully that comes across. So that's what you can expect. You can expect a band who's going to get up there, and we're gonna do the very best we can to impress you.
Hell yeah, man. For anybody out there that wants to find out more information about you guys, where can they go?
You just look up November's Doom on, Facebook. It seems to be the place to be these days. You can check it out. We have a YouTube page. It's November's Doom 1989. That's our official page. We'll put up a lot of videos up there of different things. Prophecy is our label. You can find out a bunch of information, pre-order the new album. There's all kinds of great pre-order stuff. There's an art book, there's vinyl, there's digipacks, there's box sets. There's all kinds of great stuff coming out November 1st for the new record, Nephilim Grove. You can get it at Prophecy. Man, it's just easy. Just Google November's Doom and you will find all sorts of stuff. We're easily accessible band members. We're all over Facebook, and reach out to us, send us a message. One of us are going to get back to you, and we always do.
Very cool, dude. Well, I'm about out of questions for you, man. Is there anything else you want to add to let the people know?
Man, just the album comes out, Nephilim Grove, November 1st, and give it a chance. Get it any way you can. The label, of course, is going to tell us pre-order. Go pre-order, go buy the CD. Dude, I don't care. Listen to it. Stream it. Steal it. Whatever. I don't care. Listen to it. If you appreciate it, support the band. Support the band. If you like it, go out, buy it, man. Buy the CD, whatever. If you see us coming to town, come buy a T-shirt. If you get it any way you can get it and you like it, support the band. Because without the support, we can't continue. So, yeah, man, that's pretty much it.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thanks a lot for taking the time, Paul. And before I let you go, I got to get you to make us a station tag, all right?
You got it.
All right, whenever you're ready, say something like this is November's Doom, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio.
This is Paul from November's Doom, and you are listening to Metal Devastation Radio.
Fuck yeah, man. Thanks a lot, dude. What I'm going to do now...
Thank you very much.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to blast some more November's Doom for these motherfuckers so they can go crazy, all right?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Cheers. We'll talk to you later, brother.
Take care.
There you have it, folks. November's Doom live on the Zach Moonshine Show. I keep on almost saying November's Rain. What the fuck, man? I don't know why that fucking shit is stuck in my head for some reason, but November's Doom, dude. Crank it the fuck up loud as a fuck. Put your speakers in your fucking windows. Put them in your front lawns. Put them wherever the fuck you can, man. Make your fucking neighbors hate you. Crank it the fuck up. This is Petrichor.